Uh, all right, so while we're waiting for Jim to log in, any more comments on what we were talking about yesterday? I'm taking a vacation as a realtor. I was thinking about you guys all yesterday. No comments at all?
Go Dodgers.
That's right. We get the day off today, and then we'll be in Atlanta country for the next couple days, right? So Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be a big weekend. We got to win 2 in a row. We have no more room to miss out on anything. Here we go. Here's Jim. This is a grand entrance by Mr. Jim Zappulla. Oh yeah, that's right. God, man, Chris Taylor, 3 home runs yesterday. Just bam, bam, bam. Pretty awesome. For our unsung hero. Hey, Jim, are you with me? Hey, there you are. Let me I will highlight you. Actually, no, I won't do that. Here, let's just, we'll do this.
Can you hear me?
Hey, there we go, Jim. I can hear you now.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, morning. So everybody, so this is Jim Zappulla from KW South Bay. Jim, here, I'll introduce you for a second, then I'll just interview and ask you some questions. So Jim is one of the first people I met when I was at KW South Bay, but actually I knew him from before being around real estate in the South Bay for the last 5 or 6 years. I'd see Jim's name around a lot, doing production here and there. The guy's just, but I've come to know Jim since being at KW South Bay, who not only is one of the most fun people you will ever meet, but you can't miss Jim's laugh. I mean, you'll hear it throughout the office. It's just awesome. And but Jim's also got an amazing history in the fabric of real estate in the PV and South Bay area altogether. So Jim, without me saying, I'll shut down. Tell me, tell all of us here, tell us a little bit about your history. I know we could talk for an hour just on where you've been and all you've seen in the last 30, 40 years, but just give me the highlights here for a couple minutes.
Well, I first started, 42 years ago. And the first thing I actually did was, before I even got my license, I canvassed all the businesses from San Pedro, Port Sacal to Marina del Rey. And I got my name out there. Then after I got licensed, they already knew that. Then I went and visited them again, told them I was licensed. So I first started working business, and my first sale was a top hat cleaners. I sold the dry cleaners. And then of course that merged into selling other dry cleaners, but also residential in Palos Verdes too. Actually, the broker's brother had his house for sale on 221 Via Fernandez. And I sat there the first week. That was actually my first open house, and sold that one. So before I get even started, I want to tell all these people, it's about attitude. Your attitude when you wake up, your attitude carries with you in sales. When you wake up, how you carry yourself, how your demeanor. I'm a happy person. I think that's one of my reasons why I get business. I don't elude or exude negativity. You have to be happy. You have to make everybody wants somebody to be positive around him. And if you have positive vibes, people want to work with you. And that's the whole thing. You have to have people that want to work with you. You have to have people that want to remember you.
Yeah.
So my sales career has been very successful. And what I did is, my little secret is, when I first started, besides doing the businesses, I said, I was a apprentice carpenter. So I started waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning and going to all the job sites, all the building sites at the beach, because I actually lived down at the beach. So every morning I would show up there at 7 o'clock with a dozen donuts and coffees. And I would actually just give them to the contractor or
Mhm.
give them to the people who are working there. And so I would show up there 2 or 3 times a week, and the contractor says, listen, I've already got this property committed to somebody. I said, that's okay. I'm gonna keep coming here because I enjoy coming here and watching the construction. And after it's built, I'm gonna know more than your realtor here because I'm here once every other day watching the progress of the construction. And I did that for the first part of my career. And you know what? The builder finally says, he says, you're so persistent and you probably know the property better than anybody else. I'm going to give you a shot and give you the listing. So persistence pays off.
Yeah.
You have to be determined, you know, this is a sales business, and how whatever you put into it, that's what's going to make you with whatever you put into it in the beginning of your career, you're going to reap the harvest, you know, in the middle of your career. You know, I didn't start getting callbacks till after 5 years of starting in real estate. So then of course we have to go with the market flow. Then all of a sudden the foreclosures came in. So I end up lucking out because my builder, one of my builders I was doing with, actually got me a listing on Grant Avenue, Land Grant Estates. There's 8 condominiums there, and they couldn't get financing. And one of the realtors was a partner in the property, and we discussed this. I told you about it.
Yeah,
And
this is an amazing story. I'm so glad you're sharing this. This is awesome.
Bank of America was about to take back the property in less than 30 days. And so they gave me the listing. And of course, the other realtor didn't like it because he had a listing for over a year. But anyway, I went around to the banks at 9:00 in the morning. And I first drove out to El Segundo, or by the airport, and stopped at First Nationwide. And I was going to work my way back. Because for some reason, I don't know, I didn't like, either I started in San Pedro and worked to Marina del Rey, or I started in Marina del Rey, worked my back way to San Pedro. That's what I used to do. So right away, I figured, let me start. And First Nationwide was first bank. I went there, I sat there. 30 minutes later, I told him I wanted to speak to the president of the bank, and he came out and he brought me into his office, and he says, he brought out this 8x11 folder with a camel on it. And I was like, you know, it looked like it was a camel from a pack of cigarettes. So he says, this is what's going to save California in the real estate market. And I said, it said CAML on it, or maybe it said CAML. And I said, what's this? He says, this is the California Adjustable Mortgage Loan. And I brought that package to my open house and sold 3 the first weekend. Brought the whole property out of foreclosure. Everybody's head was spinning. And of course, Bank of America contacted me directly, you know, because
Hey,
I
Jim,
had.
Jim, let me just ask you one question real quick, because I want to make sure I clarify in case anyone's missing out. So there was the property wouldn't, you had a group of homes that wouldn't sell. And so you went to all these banks to see if they could provide you some lending for it, some financing for it, so that the home might be more affordable to people, right?
Yeah, back in the day, you have to have a bank president trust you to do the financing on your project. I mean, you're going to really work hard, because they don't want to get stuck signing a loan for 8 condominiums and then nothing sells. And then just like Bank of America, that president, you know, could lose his job because he signed off on something that thought was going to sell and was priced right and didn't sell. And when I sold 3 in one weekend, it spun everybody's head around. Bank of America sent me airline tickets, and I flew up to Mission Street in San Francisco, and I went into their conference room. There was a table about 22 feet long, and I sat at the head of it, and my legs were shaking. They asked me how I did it. And I said, it's all about financing. And I told them about the California Adjustable Mortgage Loan. And they said, well, what do you suggest? I said, well, if you're going to finance it yourself, forget the California Adjustable Mortgage Loan. Why don't you do a fixed rate for 5 years and then put a call on it? So that way, We could sell them right away, and then you're out of it in 5 years. And they gave me 10% fixed, 10% fixed back when the interest rate was 12%,
Yeah.
fixed 5 years, and then they would call the loan, or you'd have to refinance it at that time. I sold
Hey,
11.
Jim, how old were you at the time when they give you airline tickets and you fly up to San Francisco in this boardroom?
20 years old.
Oh,
It was
man,
22.
I love it.
By 25, I was the foreclosure king of South Bay. I did it before Steve Johnson, before Susie Dyer, before Larry Nordine. They all learned from me. And then my broker, I kept telling him, you got to buy foreclosures. So my broker at the time was Larry Arman from Remax Rolling Hills. And I was kind of the manager of his office. And I sold him his first foreclosure, some properties, 6 condominiums on Broadway. On Catalina. It was called Catalina Villas. And he bought those and he rehabbed them. They needed about 45,000 off-site improvements. And he sold them, made a ton of money. And so then he opened up United REO, and he got Citibank's accounts across the nation. And we used to refer out of the Remax referral book.
Mhm.
But then I was heavily involved in foreclosures. Bank of America then gave me High Point condominiums at the top of by Wilderness Park. They gave me 33 units, and that's when I sold the 11 in the first day. I sold the whole complete project out in 45 days, and so after that they gave me 2 more projects up in Marina Del Rey on the Silver Strand. I sold those. I mean, I came and I really got heckled because there's a new realtor in town. You go up to Marina Del Rey and try to sell property in the Silver Strand. First of all, the same silver price and everything. But I sold 8 condominiums. Matter of fact, one of the buyers at the time was Judge Ito. So I recognized his face during the OJ trial, and I said, "Wait a minute." I sold him a condominium in Marina Del Rey. So, I knew he was a judge, and I had sold him a property a long time ago, but, just you meet a lot of different people. So foreclosures. So when I work real estate, I work whatever is flowing, because when foreclosures are around, nothing's selling because everything's going to foreclosures. So I worked the foreclosures. Then just like the short sales, I worked a ton of short sales. I sold over, I don't know, maybe close to about 75, 100 short sales. I did work like that. When that got bad, I went to income property. So you have to diversify yourself in the business to be successful continuously.
Mm-hmm.
So with all that said, I was on the top 100 of the state of California in sales volume for almost 30 consecutive years. So that's a pretty good record for Remax.
That is a pretty amazing record. If you go into Jim's wall, there's it's like going into a famous musician's office where they have all the gold records. Jim's just got like one after another of the top salesman awards. And I was like, man, that's impressive. And he's like, yeah, that's half of them.
Well, you got to love what you do in this business. Like I said, this is a great business. I love what I do. It surely pays good, right? Even in today's world right now, our prices are well over $1 million. When I sold in Palos Verdes, the prices, we're over $1 million, but 80% of our sales were under $1 million. The only thing that was over $1 million was Rolling Hills behind the gates.
Yeah.
So now it's different, now 3.5 million is 2.5 to 3.5 million is like a common sale, if it's over 3,000 square feet in PV, so the money's very good. Only it's hard to break in. You have to show people that you're going to work harder than anybody else. I mean, look at Gary Nix in our office. He works unbelievable. He's another top producer.
Yeah.
I really admire him. He reminds me of the olden days of the way I worked. I'm a little bit older now, so I could kind of cruise because, like I said, if I don't work at all, I'll make 150,000 in 1 year. So if I really apply myself, I'll make over that. So this business has treated me very, very good, and real estate is a very good thing to get into, but you have to dedicate yourself. And the whole thing, the key thing is to go to classes. You know, we have a lot of sales classes in our office, you know, the 33 touch program. You got to remind yourself, you got to touch the people that you've done business before in your career, because that's how you get the repeat business. Very easily, they forget. Also, another good tip is when you get a listing anywhere, if you don't knock on the first 20 doors, 10 doors or 20 doors on both sides of the street, you're going to miss out on, you know, listing and selling the property. And you would be surprised of how many times that's happened in the years that I've been in real estate. I've seen quite a few times that one of the next door neighbors or one of the people on the street bought the house. So so that's another little tip. You know, once you get a listing in a house, you send out your 200 postcards just listed, and you knock on the doors of both sides of the streets, at least 10 or 20 houses on both sides. And that way, you know, you just introduce yourself, because if you make a sale, then you're going to send it. I just sold postcard. Yeah. So they're already kind of know you. And then you can always follow up and knock on their door and give them something. Remember I told you about cold calling when people knock on a door? People, when you knock on a door, don't ask for a listing. You're not going to get it. You need to offer somebody something. You need to knock on the door and give them something. And I knock on the door and I said, what can I help you out with? You know, here's a pad and a pen, or here's something of use to you. Do you need to refinance your house? What can I do for you? That's how I go about it. I ask them what I could do for them, not what they could do for me. Because people, even on the phone, and you cold call on the phone, the right of ways, are you interested in selling your house? People are not going to react to that. You have to think of a different way. You have to be different than other people, you know, and then and once you're successful in that, then you get your glitch and do what you do. If you're going to cold call, make cold calls, or if you're going to farm or knock on doors, you have to become the professional of what it is. But making yourself well known is every time you sale or every time you get a listing, you got to put your name out there. Yeah. And my success is open houses. So I really kind of, the last couple of years with COVID and everything, kind of really, businesses turn around. But I love to sit open houses. I'm sitting in open house tomorrow, for somebody that I mentored in real estate, because he says, I've been sitting it every week and just came back on the market and $2.7 million. So if I sit there, it's $70,000 commission, right? Yeah. So it's a gift. So this real estate market is only as good as you make it for yourself. And plus we got a great office. Our training is second to none. Our staff over there at Keller Williams South Bay, our brand new office now, we really have something special, and it's the environment, it's the environment. They created a very happy work environment, and that's why they did that remodel in the office. Because if people walk around positive, they're going to do good. So the something doing good, because my profit sharing was $800 this month. 3 months ago was $2,300.
Love it. So, hey Jim, you said something that I wanted to just kind of touch back on, because I thought I just wanted to double up on it, because in case anyone missed it. You're talking about when you've got a new listing to market around that property, to knock on the doors around that property. And I love that advice. I know that when I was new, I was always looking for, in my first couple of years, I was looking for open houses for other people. And when I'd get open houses, the first thing, what I would do is door knock all around the open house. And I was surprised how many times that it was the first time that they were like, "Oh, are you the listing agent?" You know, we've been trying to figure out who the agent was, and I was like, "Oh no, you know, it's not." But it's amazing how many people don't do that. And I often found that when I did an open house and I would door knock around that open house to market it, but you know, on the Thursday or Friday before the open house that weekend, I would get more business from the door knocking in preparation for the open house than I actually got at the open house itself.
Yeah, rule of thumb is if you get a listing,
Yeah,
you should be able to sell 2 to 3 properties off that open house. You know, you have to make business for yourself. You just can't be happy getting the listing, you know, because even if that sells by another broker, then you're out of listing. So you need to lead generate off that open house. Take names down. You know, there's a program right now, and forget, I don't like the book signing. That's old, because I have people sign the books. I can't read their handwriting. Their numbers are different. Now I have them sign in a laptop. So type out their name and the thing, and it's called open house. It's a program that you could use, and it keeps it and it keeps track of it. And you know, sometimes people give you the wrong number and the wrong email, but at least you'll be able to read it. You know, the frustrating thing is when they leave your name and your number and you can't tell the email and you can't read the numbers, you can't read their handwriting. Everybody writes differently. So that's another tip. Use something electronically to copy names and numbers down. It looks more professional. It should always have water or something, water or I bring always water to an open house, or something that I could give away, or even candy, something. So no peanuts.
Totally.
Because grab them.
Totally. Well, this is good stuff. We've still got 5 minutes here, so I want to make sure I give some time to, because people may have some questions, but my big takeaways were, when you were new, that you hustled, like you had a problem that people weren't buying these properties. So you got in the car and you drove to banks and asked to speak with the president, and you got in these meetings and they were able to give you creative financing that they were able to use. I thought that was amazing. Like that's especially being in the young 20s, to be able to do that. That's ballsy. I love it. That's what it takes, you know, sometimes. And just the relentlessness you've had in your business is just amazing. And that's, you know, what, something that's so contagious around the people around you. It's, you know, I love having people like Jim in my world, because it affects me. And it, you know, that's part of why this morning call works, because we all influence each other. Right. And so the people who show up at this call are the people who are getting going and hungry enough to show up at a call at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right.
We learn from all the top producers, Ed. You know, even I'm still learning. You know, there's nothing because something new always comes up. You know, you never stop learning in real estate. You know, if somebody's successful, look at what they're doing, mimic them, and then make it your own thing. I mean, you don't have to exactly what they do, but look at some of the techniques they use and what they're doing, because they're successful for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So
it reminds me of the Gary Keller, the E to P, right? So the E to P model, where it says, you know, rather than just starting off on your own and saying like, I'm gonna figure it out on my own, look around you and see what everybody else is doing. Now, luckily at Keller Williams, people have done all the research for us and have given us all the models. But start there. You try using the model as best you can. Now, eventually, you're going to get to a point where you may have to have some creativity and stray away from the model to figure something out. But don't start with that. Start with the model first. Start trying to follow along what top producers have done before you, because success leaves clues, right? And then modify as you go. This is good stuff. Any other questions out there? I just want to make sure that some of these people are probably dying, going like, "Oh my God, I'm dying to ask a question." Anybody have a question for Jim?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So you mentioned about when you just sell something, you go around and you door knock and you try to generate leads. What about when you are a selling agent for a buyer? Can you do the same thing, or how do you?
If you're a selling agent for a buyer and you sell a home, you can advertise the just sold. Now, what happens if you have an experienced realtor like me? and you sell my listing, I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to send people out and say, just sold. And when they get that just sold, they're going to think I sold it, not you. So I don't put that I did the sale. I just said I just sold the property. If they ask me who actually sold the sale, then I said another realtor sold the sale. You have to be honest. So, but that's why the selling agent has more of an advantage, because they have the clients. They did the work. Remember, a listing agent sticks a sign and signs a contract. That's the hardest part of real estate, is finding buyers and selling the real estate. Don't get me wrong, get listings is very, very hard too. But once you have the listing, you stick a sign in the property, and you're either waiting for it to sell or you're trying to sell it yourself. The people who work with buyers have to go out there, lead generate, find a buyer, pre-qualify and bring it to the house, show them 50 houses, and then get an escrow and close it. So you need to reward yourself for all that hard work that you just did on showing 20 or 30 houses to a buyer. And listen, you know that happens. So people look at a lot of houses before they actually pull the trigger. So take advantage of it, but get a just sold postcard. And here's what I do. I make it, if I'm in a really good neighborhood, I send the just sold postcard up, and then I follow up and knocking on the door, and I give them a pen or a pad or something they can use that they're going to remember me by. Because first of all, you started with the postcard, but postcards, people just rip them up and throw them away. Some people look at them because they're interested. You'd be surprised about how many people on the street are really concerned about how much a house sells for in their neighborhood, because that's their investment. So you're not going to go wrong by knocking on that door and giving them more information,
Uh-huh. And the postcard, what should it say on it?
It should say, just sold. All right. We sold this, and we can sell yours, or I have other buyers. Right. If you write down all your leads, because people are going to walk in your house and say, this is not I ask the people, is this the floor plan like when I'm sitting in the house? I got to find out what their objective is. You just can't let them walk around and walk out because they don't like it. Ask them a question. Is this house for you? You don't like it? Is there something wrong with the floor plan? They'll tell you. People will volunteer their information. If you don't ask, you won't receive. So you ask them and say, you know what? Why don't you leave your name and your telephone number with me? And I have a couple of listings coming up, or you always say you have a couple of listings coming up, and they might suit you. And I'll call you I'll call you before I put it on the market, give you a chance to look at it first. You got to use your head and get their number and have them be interested in working with you. So, because you're going to do the work after you sell this property, but you need to make at least 2 to 3 sales on every single listing. If you don't do that, you're going to just keep working very, very hard and only just selling the listings that your listings should generate more business for you. Every listing that I get generates more business for me.
So even if it's not my listing, but I sold it, I'm able to do the same thing and send cards.
Absolutely. You're the selling agent. Listen, if it wasn't for you, the property wouldn't have been sold. Right? But they put a sign in it. You did all the hard work. You qualified your buyer. You brought him to the property. You closed the escrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're the star. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from listing agents, but the people who are making the sales, those are the stars. Those are the people who are working harder than anybody else, because they've already showed this property to this client 5 other, 6 other, 10 other times. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then, so knock on the doors. How many doors should I knock on?
Well, if it's your farm, remember, once you make a sale, here's what I tell people to farm. I tell people farm the neighborhood that they live in. or
Oh,
live in a condominium association. If you live in a condominium association and you're not the top salesman in that building, you're doing something wrong.
I
So,
know.
so if you're in a condominium, then you have to become the realtor of the whole building. And that's kind of a pain, but when anybody wants to list or sell their property, they're gonna say, hey, we gotta go to her. She has the most clients and she has the most people. And she knows, because she lives here, she knows all about our building. So that's another thing too. So if you live in a condominium complex, you need to do something to make yourself very visible and to make people call you. And you got to keep sending them stuff and sending them stuff. Keep on doing quarterly markets too. If you pick out a farm, you have to do quarterly sales. People want to know what they sold in the neighborhood. If you go knocking on doors, you just can't go knocking on door with nothing in your hand. You're gonna have to bring paper or say, here's what's sold in the last 3 months or last 4 months in your neighborhood.
This is amazing.
I'm just here to make you aware.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, this is great stuff. We got to wrap it up because it is 8:30. But guys, let's all give a hand to Jim. Thank you, Jim, for coming and speaking to this group. It was a real treat. I learned a lot from it, and I enjoy working with you. And just thank you so much for coming and sharing all your experience with us. So I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend and a great Friday. Let's go out there and sell some homes and make it all happen today.
Good luck, everybody.
And Jim, you've got like 5 or 6 people saying thank you. This was great fun. Thank you. Great stories and lots to learn from. Thank you, Jim. So yeah, lots of thank yous out there. So thanks everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
See you later.
Bye, everybody.